I am 87 years old. I'm sitting in a public laundromat at 2 in the morning because the silence in my apartment has become a weight I can no longer carry alone. I've realized tonight, watching my graying sheets tumble behind the glass, that I spent nearly a century running from the quiet, only to find that the fear of being alone is far more corrosive than the loneliness itself. I'm telling you this now because the dryer has 10 minutes left, and at my age, 10 minutes of truth is worth more than a decade of pretending. When I was younger, I lived as if silence were a predator. I was a salesman, always talking, always surrounded by the artificial hum of offices and bars. I filled every gap in my life with noise because I was terrified of what I might hear if the world went quiet. I had a wife, children, and a busy house, yet I was never truly there. I was a ghost hiding in plain sight, using my responsibilities as a shield against the person staring back at me in the mirror. Then the noise stopped. My wife passed away. The kids moved across the country, and the career that defined me became a few lines in an old ledger. Suddenly, the silence I had spent 80 years avoiding was the only thing left in the room. I spent a long time panicked, waiting for someone to come save me from the void. But sitting here tonight, listening to the rhythmic thud of the machines, I've realized there are 6 hard-won truths that finally allowed me to stop shaking in the dark. The first is that you must stop waiting for the phone to ring. For years, I measured my worth by how much of my time others wanted. I realized that the fear of loneliness is really just a fear that you aren't worth your own company. I had to learn to be my own guest. I had to start treating myself like a person I actually cared for, rather than a problem that needed a distraction. Once I stopped waiting for external validation of my existence, the silence felt less like a prison and more like a room I finally owned. The second realization was about the noise we choose. I used to keep the television on just so the house wouldn't feel empty, but fear thrives on that kind of static. It's a debt you try to pay with more noise, but the interest only grows. I had to learn to walk into the quietest room, sit down, and let the thoughts come, the regrets, the memories, the old ghosts. I had to realize they couldn't actually kill me. Loneliness only loses its power when you stop trying to drown it out. The third thing was the hardest. I had to forgive the people who weren't there. I spent a long time being angry at my children for their busy lives and at my friends for dying before I did. But that anger was just a way to avoid feeling small. You can't conquer the fear of being alone if you're carrying a heavy bag of resentment. You have to put the stones down so your hands are free to hold your own life. I realized that their absence wasn't a judgment on me. It was just the way time works. Fourth, I found that I needed a rhythm, not a goal. That's why I'm here tonight, washing these clothes, folding them, the smell of the soap. It's a ritual. When the big events of your life are over, you find that the fear of the void is kept at bay by the small, ordinary things. Making the bed, toasting the bread, coming to this laundromat. These aren't just chores. They are a way of saying, I am still here, and I am still taking care of this man. Peace isn't found in a grand epiphany. It's found in the steady hum of a machine. The fifth element was letting go of the perfect version of my life. I spent so much energy mourning the big family dinners that don't happen, or the legacy I thought I'd leave behind. I had to stop comparing my reality to a ghost. Loneliness is twice as loud when you're measuring it against a fantasy. Once I accepted that my life was just me in this quiet apartment, the fear started to lose its grip. It's much easier to walk when you aren't trying to carry the weight of what might have been. Finally, the sixth and most vital truth. I had to accept the finality of it all. I am going to die, and I will likely be alone when it happens. For a long time, that thought paralyzed me. But tonight, in this flickering fluorescent light, I realize that the fear of dying alone is really just a fear of living alone. If I can be okay with myself right now, in this moment, then the future has no more teeth. I have already faced the worst of it, and I am still standing. I see you sometimes through the window of my life. I see the young people rushing by with their headphones on, eyes glued to screens, doing exactly what I did, trying to outrun the silence. You think that if you just find the right person or the right job, you'll never be lonely again. But that's a lie. No one else can live inside your skin. The fear only stops when you stop running from the person you are when no one is watching. I wish I had known at 30 that the quiet wasn't my enemy. I spent so much energy trying to be significant so that people wouldn't leave me, when all I really needed was to be a decent companion to myself. I wasted decades building walls against a loneliness that was actually an open door, if only I had been brave enough to walk through it. The machines are entering the spin cycle now. The floor is vibrating under my feet. It's a comforting sound, a reminder that the world keeps moving, even when we feel like we're standing still. I'm 87, and for the first time in my life, I am not afraid of the silence waiting for me back at the apartment. It's a quiet victory, but it's mine. If you're feeling that weight in your chest tonight, maybe just try to sit still for 1 minute. Don't reach for the phone. Don't turn on the music. Just sit with yourself. It's a long walk to the end of the road, and you're the only one who's going to be there every step of the way. You might as well try to make peace with the traveler. If you're willing, tell me what you're afraid of finding in the quiet. Sometimes just saying it out loud makes the room feel a little less empty. It helps to know there are other people out here in the night doing their laundry and trying to be brave. I have to go now. My sheets are dry. I have a long walk home, but the moon is out, and for the first time in a long time, the night feels like a friend. Take care.